Buying a property with your brother, sister, buddy, is it a great idea? Is it a shocker idea? We're going to cover it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael BURGIO, Mark Novak, episode 513, buying property with family and friends. Mark and I are going to discuss it because we come across it quite often. So we thought, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet. So let's talk about some of the, good things we see, bad things we see, and just things people aren't aware of, and what type of situations we see it. I think we do obviously see it a lot on the selling sides when it's inheritance. A few years later, you're dealing with multiple parties, and then I think more so a lot of people are talking about it, especially northern beaches with higher pricing, where they may not want the studio apartment where to start off at, and they say let's team up together and let's buy something. So Mark, what's your initial thoughts on the idea? And should we do two categories, friends and family, or do you think they're both the same?
Yeah, but I reckon a little bit different. I'll tell you where the whole partnership thing comes undone, and why it sticks together. Why it sticks together is you can do it almost twice as fast or a lot earlier. So rather than having to wait to get to a certain income or having to wait to get to a certain deposit, you can accelerate that much quicker and enter into the market much quicker.
That's powerful. We're seeing the property growth, northern beaches and in Sydney, and quicker could be. We did that chart. It's 11 years to save a deposit to buy. So doing it with someone could be 5 years. Mark, what's the market done in 10 years?
Double.
It's compelling.
Yeah, so it's compelling. So if you're buying, you're basically going to be, the property value is going to go from $500,000 to $1 million while you're trying to save $50,000.
Yeah. And you think, well, shit could happen, but not buying something, dealing with it later, it's a future problem. I'd rather buy it now, enjoy growth, potential growth, rather than I'm saving what at the time you started saving, you're thinking I can get a house. By the time you have money, you're buying a studio. Damn it, should have done it with my brother, sister, or friend.
Yeah.
So it's compelling from that point of view, definitely. Especially these days, serviceability is harder. Banks want higher income. They on one hand they want a bigger deposit. On the other hand, there's lots of ways to get a 5% deposit, stuff like that.
Yep. Which actually makes me think when we're saying buying a property, and this is what today's about, buying a property with friends or family, there's a good way to do it, and probably not a good way to do it. A good way to do it is if somebody wants to put in a stake, which would be handled by way of a deed or a contract on the side. So, for example, mum and dad would like to help with the deposit. Mum and dad would like to help you with 50 grand, and you do a side deed on the side, which is like a loan to mum and dad. Now, a different way is mum and dad want to go partners with you on the property, and the way that's handled is they're going to go on a contract and pay stamp duty for that 50 grand they're going to put in. That's sticky.
Yeah, so
it's a bit like what you were saying, Burge, with brothers and sisters. It's sticky.
Yeah, it's okay. So we'll go through. Like the good things are obviously you can buy a more expensive property, you may be able to go from a 2-bedder to a 3, all that stuff. So put that aside and let's see where on title. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can create a company. The company buys it. You got directors. You can do it in a joint tenancy. Then there's joints. There's two. There's joint tenancy and there's one more. There's one where
tenancy
in common. One where, let's say you die, it goes to the other person on title, and one, if you die, it goes to your will, follows that path. So there is a distinction there that you would need to clarify. But But I think where a lot of, let's say, not issues, there's a couple of financing, as much as there's some good stuff on the financing side, there's also some negatives as well, where a bank that will look at it as they don't split the debt, even though in your head, let's say you own $1 million property, you in your mind you own 500,000, even though it's worth $1 million. But in the bank's eyes, you owe $1 million, and to the partner who you've bought with, they also have a debt of $1 million or whatever the full value is. The bank don't split it. They look at the whole picture because in their eyes, they go, we're assessing you. You have a partnership. We can't rely on that partnership. So we put the full debt on you when we're assessing your risk on, I say, another purchase. You may be buying something with a brother and sister at your 20s. Then you're married, buying something else at 30. And the difference could be not being able to buy that another property because they're looking at your risk at $1 million rather than $500,000. So you cut your time in half at the beginning to get in the market, but you could be hurting yourself in the future with that.
So basically and the way before we went on air that we were chatting about it, Burge, was you and I, was it looks, when you say when you're buying something for $1 million, it looks like a pretty easy way to get in, because it's like, you know what, we both want to get, say $500,000. We both can't afford to get into a $500,000 property. But I tell you what we'll do. I'll come up with a 25k deposit. You come up with a 25k deposit. Everyone goes, shit, that's easy to do. And then you go, okay, now when we go to get a loan, you're earning 75, I'm earning 75, and the bank goes 150 grand for a 500k property, and you got the deposit. Easy. The problem is when the second property comes along, and one person's got a girlfriend or a boyfriend or getting married, the other person still is doing a little bit better in work, then they go, now what do we do? And then one person says, I want to buy you out. Other person says, I don't want to get out. And then you go, okay, well, I'm going to buy another property because I'm doing well at work. When you go to buy the next property, say for 500 grand again, and you still own that property with the other partner, they are not assessing you on your 250 that you put in. They're assessing you on the $500,000 loan of the whole goddamn property. Then they're assessing you on the $500,000 loan on what you want to buy. They're assessing you on $1 million. People don't realize that. Same as a residential lease. If you go in with someone on a rent for $1,000 a week and they run, you're going to be responsible for $1,000 a week. It is the same, it's the same basic principle with buying a property with a partner. Luke's saying, don't do it.
Yeah, and that's right as well. So I think if you're looking at it, and let's say you have great income, then you can be like, well, that won't be an issue for you. Then yes, but then it's also like, well, then why don't you just buy it yourself? Maybe you want to do it for, I don't know, you just want to do it to have something with that person. Fair enough. But you got to know what the risks are. You don't, if your income, let's say, is at 75 and you don't see much growth in that over the next 5 or 10 years, it's actually pretty easy to work out how many properties you can buy. You may have ambitions to buy 2 properties, but if your income is stuck at a level, then yeah, you may be able to buy something sooner. You get the equity, but you're going to have the glass ceiling of your income. So I think that's just mindful for people to realize there is an income glass ceiling with that. Then
I'd love to know what people think, Burge, and are watching as well. If you're watching, I'd love to know if you've had good examples or bad examples in and around your life. Sorry, over to you.
But I think if issues come up, it's probably not going to be in the first 5 or 10 years, because you're buying your scenario. You bought it. You obviously go into the agreement agreeing in it. So I think what you need to do is, if shit hits the fan, we need to have basically a get out agreement done when we do the actual agreement, because day one, when you sign the contracts, you're all happy, you all agree. But 10 years down the track, 15 years down the track, What happens when you
People have
don't?
kids, people get married, people lose jobs, get jobs, people get sick. There's so
Yeah.
many moving parts.
So you almost need to be pretty upfront and honest. Go, okay, what if one of us is in trouble? What's our selling arrangement? Do we offer it to each other first, or do we just put it on the open market? Neither of us can buy it. Have that agreement
Yeah,
now when you're not thinking of it. Because when one of you wants to buy something else, or one of you is in trouble, you don't want to be coming to the making an agreement then. You want to do it from a clear path. So almost like the day you sign the contract, you can also have partnership agreements. So you can have, let's say, you can have the agreement between yourselves. So therefore, this is the process we do if we sell it. We get 3 valuations, and if the highest one or whatever we agree on, we purchase it. We give them the rights. We see that quite often, but we also take a lot of properties to market, don't we, Mark? Where we will basically run a campaign where, yeah, if we get a really great price, they may sell to someone privately, but the family just don't know what it's worth. They've had valuations swinging 10%, and they just want a fair deal. So they're like, we'll take it to the open market and let's see what offers we get. Because at the end of the day, valuations, they're off old data, they're not off the current climate. So there's a lot of that around. So I think you need to have a get out of jail free card, not a backup plan. Most people do it
well,
because they want to
even
share the risk, share the burden, share the work. It's true.
even still, someone's going to get screwed, or they're going to think they're going to get screwed. Because Luke's saying most people do it for a comfort thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's probably
Luke's
the biggest
saying,
thing.
yeah, he spoke to an investor, bought investments with them, selling everything and starting again. Didn't want to deal with the stress. That it probably and it's so true, because everyone basically, if you're doing better than the other person, then you're buying them out. Like in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, when that property is valued, their perception is, I just got screwed. I bought that property with you. You still own it. I couldn't afford it at the time. You bought me out. And I don't know. It just creates that bad, ill feeling. I just, all in all, before we sign off, what would you do it? Would you not do it?
Yeah, I'd probably do it. But you just got to be
Um,
upfront from day one. Definitely, that's what we do, or have a time frame. And also what it's buying for. You may be buying. Is it an investment? Are you buying into a family property that's been into it, keeping it in the family? There's different outcomes that way. So, but I think
Christine, that looks like a no from Christine. That
yeah,
looks like a Luke. Jealousy is a dangerous thing, especially in family. I think that's a no from Luke. Certainly from me, buying with friends or family, I think it's a no.
yeah,
I had a partnership arrangement at the ripe old age of 19, 20 that went south hard. And then I promised that sort of financially I wouldn't tie myself up with people ever again. And I think you've got enough of a risk getting married. I think one partner in your life, which is a wife, is probably a very big risk and enough risk. And I think if you want to double up on that, because don't forget, guys, actually, this is the best thing I've got to say out of today. The best thing I've got to say out of today is, if you think you've got one partner, you don't.
I was
You've
about to
got
say this.
another 3 partners. Because what happens, is you get married, they get married, and then your wife's got an opinion and rights. Their wife or husband's got opinion and rights, and suddenly the 2 people that bought the property, now there's 4 decision makers with the property. That sounds like a hot pot shit mess.
Yeah, because the reality is those 4 at the beginning would never buy together, because they wouldn't, like, the 2 people who make the agreement 15 years
Spot
down
on.
the pack. So that's why you need to have
Well,
your plan. You go, you need to assess it. I think if people go in a bit naive, then that's where they get caught. So have the plan. And also
Michelle's saying definitely not. So I love everyone's opinion this morning. It's great. Yeah.
Also, I know, but it's probably best to do it in a trust. because if you're both living in it, then you have partners, there's rights there if they've been with them for so long. So you could lose a percentage of your property because the person you bought it with has had a relationship, they've lived in the property for X amount of years. I know. So your half could turn to 33% pretty quickly, I'm pretty sure. That's the difference in purchasing it.
Yeah.
And also I know a lot of parents help with, and they do it in trust. So you just got to know your
Luke's
shit.
going, no, 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 no. Hot mess. Why, Michael? Ask yourself why. You know what? I think, guys, it's pretty hard, though, Burge, what you're saying, to accommodate that into a contract for every scenario. And even if you do get 90% of it right, you'll find that 10% bites you on the bum. That's my opinion.
Perfect. All good.
And that's a show. And everyone, have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Burge.